Hello, I'm Joe Deems, and welcome to our program, Issues in Risk Retention on WRIN TV. With me here today is Janice Abraham, President and CEO of United Educators RRG. Janice, welcome to the show.
Thanks, great to be here.
Janice, are educational entities harder or different to insure than other public entities?
Interesting. Let me take you back to our founding when the traditional commercial insurance market had abandoned colleges and schools and universities. And the presidents and trustees and business officers back then thought that educational institutions would be better risks than the traditional commercial market. And so they started United Educators after Congress passed the Risk Retention Act, really thinking that our risks were better than long-haul trucking and manufacturing and shopping malls and office buildings. But the reality is, after 28, 29 years, is the risks are different, but they're not necessarily better. And difference is really where the action is. The compliance issues, the regulatory issues, the risks that our institutions face are not the same kinds of risks that exist in offices. There's overlap, clearly employment practices, slip and falls. But because we are dealing with faculty, with tenure, with research priorities, with minors, with young people, with 24/7 residencies, with travel abroad, it's just a different level of risk class.
Would you say that schools now present a bigger compendium of risks than what you used to see 25 years ago?
I think that's accurate, Joe. I think that the world is more complex. If we just think about social media, medical research, the places that students travel, it's no longer just acceptable to go to London or Paris or Rome. Our students are traveling throughout the world to emerging markets and developing economies. Medical research has indicated that traumatic brain injury is a very different medical phenomena and occurrence now. It's always been a challenge for our athletes, but medical research indicates that it's much more severe. And compliance and regulatory issues have certainly evolved. The military is facing this with sexual assault, and we clearly in educational institutions are facing it. When I began in education, Title IX was all about gender equity in sports so that women would be the same access to sports. And really, since 2011, Title IX is all about sexual assault and making sure that we have training and prevention programs. So the risks are really different than what they were when UE was founded.
Well, whenever you have risks, obviously you have to address those with your risk management protocols. How have your risk management protocols, would you say, changed over the last decade or so?
The biggest change has been technology. We've always been known for our risk management. We've done white papers and checklists, and we moved into webinars. They seem so quaint now, but clearly our action now is on online learning. We're into our third generation of a learning management system. Students want to be mobile in how they learn. Faculty want to be able to have responsive risk management programs. So the biggest change has been the audiences. It used to be we talked to the administration, and now we talk to the learners. And so we have programs focused with volunteers, with students, with coaches, with camp counselors. You name the activity on a school, college, university, our learning programs, our risk management programs are focused on them. So we have moved beyond the risk manager and the business officer who may make the insurance purchasing decision, but they don't create the risk and they don't create the learning opportunities to change behavior. It's really all about culture change and behavior change if we want to change the way accidents occur and things happen on our campuses. And that's where our focus is, culture change to help institutions reach and really accomplish their mission of teaching, research, learning, service.
It's interesting that you would say that you're reaching out to the learners. I saw in one of your recent blogs that your risk managers are kind of doing something unique these days by encouraging the college administrators to not necessarily ban the secret mobile apps that the students have taken up using to communicate with one another, and are actually recommending that the college administrators use platforms that actually connect directly with the students. Is that part of this process?
I think we have to understand how campuses function. They are open, porous learning institutions, and it's not feasible or really within the mission of schools, colleges, and universities to create walls or barriers. And so students communicate in a myriad of ways. They communicate through social media. Some of them are identifiable, such as a Twitter account or Facebook. Some are using Yik Yak, which is an anonymous source. So I think colleges and universities have acknowledged that creating barriers, blocking internet, shutting down sites is not something that a community of learners can do. Our faculty are strong advocates of First Amendment and free speech, so are our students. And so what we want to do is focus on culture change, not creating walls or special sanctions that prevent students from interacting. So it's not about prohibiting behavior, but teaching and changing culture so that there's respect, there's safe practices, we look out for each other. Students are able to recognize when somebody's in distress and feel trust and confidence in public safety or the counselors to reach out and get help. So we really are encouraging a culture of trust and safety rather than blocking down and building walls and barriers.
You know, you start thinking about specialized insurance products, and I'm sure you've faced a certain amount of that over the course of the last number of years, but I just see just a myriad of different types of risks. I mean, I remember the day when managing hazing was big. Now there are drones on campus, campus shootings and threat assessment programs, suicide prevention groups. Do we not create new theories for recovery by the overdevelopment of prevention plans, though?
Joe, I wish I could say that hazing wasn't still big. Unfortunately, it's still a prevalent tragedy that happens on our campuses. We don't shape what students, social trends are going, or what research is happening with drones, and with intellectual property issues. What we try to do is create an environment where students can grow, they can take risks, they can experiment, whether or not it's in the lab or in a social setting, in a way that's safe. So we are first and foremost as a risk retention group trying to prevent bad things from happening. And these are taking young people from pre-K through postgraduate and research agendas and allowing them to take risks, to fail, to prosper, to gather opportunities, to take advantage of new frontiers. And so whether it's a self-driving car and the research that's going on at some of our very sophisticated universities, to food safety research, to agricultural research, to learning to play an instrument and try a new sport. The risks are emerging because society is emerging, and we're gathering new individuals into our campuses. And so are we creating new theories of liability? What we're trying to do is keep our students safe and our faculty doing the teaching and research that they want to do.
Having been one of the first risk retention groups to form following the adoption of the 1986 Liability Risk Retention Act, Janice, to what do you attribute United Educators' growth over the years to its present stature? As I believe you're like the second largest RRG in the world at the moment.
I think we are, and it's pure and simple passion and focus on our members' needs. We have focused on the emerging risks, on what they care about, on delivering the kind of prevention and risk management programs that are useful to them, that are helpful. We try to keep our insurance policies as simple as possible and claims experts that are truly responsible and responsive to the needs. So they get how campuses work. They understand how issues of tenure and free speech and research happen. And so it is a pure focus on what matters to schools, colleges, and universities. And so I think that's why our retention rate, 98, 99%, and that's really members coming to us and saying, you care about us. I can pick up the phone and I can talk to the CEO. I know who my underwriter is. I know who my claims staff, my experts are going to be. So it's a focus, and never ever losing focus on being passionate about what their needs are and putting them first.
Well, the second part of my next question was one I think you just answered, and that is why the education leaders seem to be attracted to you. Just out of curiosity, what percentage of the market share would you say you have?
We have a good share, but there's room for growth. We have a higher concentration in private universities, of course, because they do need to buy risk management. But we're seeing an increasing trend of public universities and university systems that either the state wants them to form their own, go out and buy insurance in the traditional way, and leave the state risk pools. So we're seeing a growing number of public universities join us, public K through 12, independent schools, charter schools. So if your mission is education and you care about risk management, you belong with UE, and we have a very wide range of penetration. But the exciting part is we still have a lot of opportunity for growth of institutions in this country.
Do you see any challenges ahead for the industry?
Oh, lots. Risks continue to change, and things that I didn't even dream of happening in the past, the risk behaviors on campuses is a challenge. And I think the institutions, the global insurance industry has alternative forms of capital coming in. So we have to try very hard not to become a commodity. I think UE has known that from the very beginning, and we have focused on this. I think one of the biggest challenges as an industry, if you're thinking of the insurance industry, is replacing the baby boomers and making insurance an exciting, attractive field for these brilliant millenniums that are coming along. And so we have to tell the story of why risk management and insurance is a great career. It's interesting. There are great IT opportunities, communication opportunities. I don't think we've been doing it. I don't think we have focused on diversity as well. I think higher education does that well. So United Educators is particularly well positioned to respond to that. But I think as a group, I serve on a number of insurance boards and with different associations, and it's a pretty not diverse environment. So I think one of our biggest risks as an insurance industry, as a risk transfer industry, is making sure that we get the best and brightest to come up and work in our organizations.
It's interesting you say that because you are preaching to the choir on that one in terms of the talent of our youth and what is out there coming up into the ranks of the professions now in terms of what they can contribute to our industry and contribute to companies like yours. I'd like to thank my guest, Janice Abraham, for joining us, and I'd like to thank you, our viewers, for watching Issues in Risk Retention on WRIN TV.